This program on investing under regulation crowdfunding is not investment advice.
Rising with the crowd, power unbound, change makers lead where hope is found. Superpowers for good, shaping the fate. Investors and dreamers open the gate. Supercross stands loud, proud and true, building tomorrow for me and you.
Welcome, everyone, to the Superpowers for Good show from the Super Crowd. I'm your host, Devin Thorpe, and I've got a really genuinely extraordinary guest today. Our guest is Ben Lytle. He is the author of the Potentialist series, and he's also the founder of Anthem Health. He's a big deal, and it's our privilege to have him on the show. Ben, welcome. We're thrilled to have you today.
Oh, thank you. It's good to be here.
Well, I've had the opportunity to dig into your book, and it really is full of some profound insights as you talk about the future and what it holds. It is encouraging, I think, for a lot of us who are in middle age to see someone with a little bit of gray hair who is optimistic and confident about how to cope with this rapidly expanding pace of change. How would you get us started? What's the best way to launch into this discussion today?
Well, I think start with the fact that the world's going to change more, is changing right now. We are in the period of the most rapid, profound change in history. And that's not hyperbole. There have been big changes before. This isn't the first time. Some examples, more recent examples, the Renaissance, the Enlightenment, 3 prior industrial revolutions. And all of those were periods of great change. They required people to adapt. They were the result of change forces combining with new technology, and that created this rapid acceleration. But this one's going to be the biggest and the fastest. Our job, and I believe, and I can make a very good case, it's going to be a fabulous new world. Will it solve all the problems? No, because adversity is what is part of life, and we will have new challenges, but it will be the age of expanding human potential like we've never seen. And what we need to do is adapt. That means don't fear it, don't run from it, embrace it. And there are certain things we can do, and that's what this book series is about, to adapt. And essentially, it means the 3 priorities are: number 1, we're going to have to learn faster. And there are ways we can learn faster on our own. They're laid out in the book, but also that we will have technology to help us learn faster, because we're going to have to learn faster because the world's going to change so fast. And it's going to be a far more complex world. The second is what we learn, what the priority is for learning. For 600 years, 700 years, it's been education and knowledge. That is now a commodity. We have that access all around us. Very soon it will be worldwide for every person as a commodity. The next step for us is to reach our potential and become wise in order to make better decisions. Why is that so important? In the world we're going into, far more decisions to be made, far more complex decisions, and decisions in which there's not going to be a lot of institutional guidance. They're going to be personal decisions. And so we have to be wiser, and we can be wiser. And that's what these book series, augmented by technology, will do.
Yeah, this is profoundly important, right? As we're already seeing the pace of change accelerate, right? Most of us now can reflect on how we've seen that in our lives. And I think about the way in which I have incorporated AI in deliberate ways into my daily routine, and think about that 24 months ago,
Right.
I was not consciously using AI at all. And now it is a vital tool for me. There are huge changes coming. AI is accelerating things. Your book is full of great insights, but I was interested by some of the um, depth of discussion around kind of the psychology of
Right.
corporations. The concept of wisdom
Right.
is important to you. And so some of the skills, although the book is full of practical wisdom and insights, it's also somewhat philosophical. How do you see the balance between the sort of psychological side, the philosophical, and the practical?
Right. So, this book, you nailed it. This book was, I will tell you, the hardest thing I ever did in my life. This made building 2 public companies and 7 companies in my career easy by comparison. Because what I was trying to do, and hopefully did well, was as an effort to make wisdom available to more people, something they can do, is I combined the best of mainstream psychology, and I have considerable background myself in that, and I had a wonderful panel of consulting psychologists, particularly one, uh, and then combine that with the best of classical philosophy about human development, because they're not separate fields in many ways. If you understand the history of it, it grew out. Psychology grew out of a blend of philosophy and medicine, or psychology, or medicine at the time. So that's what I set out to do, and then to make it readable. My books and a lot of books on the future they're hard to read, and particularly books like this that are telling you how to adapt to a different world require plain language if people are going to be able to use them. These are very pragmatic books. There are many practical things buried throughout the book, and then there is a 150-page practices manual available to readers. So it's intended to be something you can do, anyone can do. And I believe it's absolutely possible and practical. I was a beneficiary of these programs myself. I'm not, I don't claim to be anything special other than a regular guy. And I learned it, and so can you. And the trick is, a lot of things, wisdom has been made to sound like something very mystical. It is not. And it's been taught for thousands of years, but it hasn't been put into a layman's manual. That's what I tried to do.
One of the insights that I pulled from the book about wisdom was this idea of natural law and our ability to learn from some of what's going on in nature and its ability to adapt to change. How do you see that as being relevant and applicable to us?
Yeah, thank you for that question. I happen to love that one. This is long before there was science, long before people knew a lot about how the world worked. And that's one of the reasons why wisdom is not the province of modern times, it's the province of humanity. And so what they did was they observed certain things. And those certain things turns out to be, later, science discovered a lot of them to be law. Laws of physics. That's what science in many cases is doing, is discovering the natural laws that a lot of people knew intuitively. So when you hear someone say what goes around comes around, that's a modern expression, but people have had similar expressions throughout history. It's Newton's third law. That's what it is. The law of physics, cause and effect. So natural law has a lot to teach us. And one of the things that we have forgotten, these things were actually taught to the degree they understood them, again, thousands of years ago. And so a good example that I like is, first of all, the law of cause and effect. A lot of people treat it as a lottery. I did something, I don't see the results, so it must not have really happened. Well, no, it happens. Every time there is a cause and there's an effect. And understanding that makes you feel more accountable for what you do. And you are accountable for what you do and the effect it has on others. Another one that's a favorite of mine is the law of polarity. The law of polarity is fundamentally how we live in society and how our brains work. And what that really means is there is always a tension between two things we're trying to decide, almost at every moment. And our entire legal system, our entire governmental system is built on that tension between polarities, and how that tension, when held, rather than not good and bad, two different points of view, when those are held equally, then you find solutions or compromise. It creates a tension, an energy. That's a classic example. And that's one of the keys. The one I just discussed, the tension of the opposites, law of polarity, is one of the keys to how you become wise. You can't do it in 2 minutes, but within about an hour and a half, you can understand a lot and how to make wiser decisions throughout your life.
That's great. I appreciate you sharing that. It is very helpful. Now, you have a whole variety of resources, not just the book, available at potentialistfuture.com. Can you tell us more about what's available there as a resource for readers?
Yeah. So for those of you who are on social media, I'm on LinkedIn, Facebook, and Instagram, but particularly concentrate on LinkedIn and Facebook. On my website, I have a lot of video, and that video tries to take some of these subjects that we're talking about, and like natural law and like life's unavoidable questions, what used to be called existential questions in philosophy, and says these are important, and explains them. Explains things like conscious intention, explains why innovation, how does innovation occur, and why is it so important to life? And because it's lifted humanity more than anything else. And so that set of videos there try to give you an introduction to what this why you can become wise, why you can become a better decision maker at a time when individual decisions are going to be critical. So you might think of it as an expansion of the book. And in fact, the second book has QR codes that take you to specific videos, but you can go there and see any you want to see. And I'm constantly building that library. And by the first quarter, I hope, certainly by the second quarter, you'll be able to have a conversation with me directly there through my alter ego, my AI alter ego.
Very cool. Very cool. Well, Ben, I really appreciate you taking the time to do this with us. We're going to take a quick break here, but folks, I'm here with Ben Lytle. He is the author of The Potentialist, and a super successful social entrepreneur. And we've been talking to him about his book, about the future and how we adapt to this rapidly changing world. Fascinating stuff. I encourage you to read his book, but we're going to take a break now. And when we come back, we're going to talk to Ben about his superpower. So stick around. You don't want to miss this.
Download a free copy of How to Make Money with Impact Crowdfunding. The book Sarah Hanks describes as
a fantastic overview, not just of crowdfunding investing, but of investing in general.
Andrew Savikas raved,
"This book offers unparalleled insights for anyone looking to make a difference."
Scan the QR code to get your copy.
Ready to take your small business to the next level? Honeycomb Credit empowers diverse entrepreneurs by connecting you with community-driven funding. Build customer relationships, amplify your brand, and grow with those who believe in you. Honeycomb Credit, where your community invests in you.
Scan the QR code to start today.
Join the Impact Crowdfunding movement. Get Superpowers for Good, your free daily newsletter with exclusive video replays, a podcast, and the latest investment opportunities open to everyone. Join the super crowd. Scan now so you can learn to make money while you make a difference.
Welcome back. I'm so excited today. We've got with us Ben Lytle, the author of The Potentialist. It's an amazing book, and we're going to shift gears. We're going to set the book aside for a minute now, and we're going to talk to Ben about his superpower. So stick around. You don't want to miss this. Ben, you really are an extraordinarily accomplished human being, an accomplished entrepreneur, an accomplished author. You've done a lot in your career, and I congratulate you for that. What is your superpower?
Well, I think I'm going to start with a launch because nothing's better than launch. And my parents, who were, just ranchers initially when I was a smaller child, and then my dad later went on to be a carpenter and a small home builder. But they were not wealthy, and we all worked to get by. But they were extraordinarily wealthy in love and encouragement. And so from the time I was a little kid, they would tell me, "You're a smart kid. You work hard. You can do anything. You can do anything." So I grew up with that no boundaries encouragement. But even with that, at age 20, I took an elective course in college. Really didn't know what it was about. It was called Introduction to Personality. This very charismatic young professor got up almost the first words out of his mouth. And it was a small class, only about 15, 18 people, as I remember it. And he said, paraphrasing, it's been a long time, obviously, he said, "You don't have to do anything anyone wants you to do. You don't have to become anything anyone wants you to do. Your job is to discover you inside. Discover your truth, discover who you are, and then live that truth to the best of your ability." And it was like a bolt of lightning. I mean, it was truly one of those aha moments, life-changing moments. And I went on to get to know this professor. He opened up a world of literature to me about human potential and what is the highest achievement of human potential, which is wisdom. Because a wise person incorporates the best of everything we seek. So that's how I got into this. That was the launch. And then what happened was it began to be the lens with which I looked at the world. And I looked at my career. I looked at the opportunities. I looked at other people, at leadership style. I became a manager at 21 years old. And so I was very young. Everybody was young in IT. I began in IT. And so, information technology, today what we call computing. And so I was a manager very young with leadership responsibilities. Didn't know anything about it. But I learned through the work I was doing that really what the job of a manager and leader is to help people discover the best in themselves. And if you do that, they're going to be high performers.
That superpower, that focus on finding and living your own potential is really profound. And I appreciate you sharing some anecdotes, some evidence of that. I wonder if you could share some simple practical tips from the book or otherwise for discovering our potential.
Yeah, the first thing you have to do is you have to put the ego in the back seat. The the fact is that the ego has dominated consciousness since the beginning, but it's not us. We all know it because you'll be arguing with yourself one time, and if you've ever stopped and asked yourself, wait a minute, if I'm arguing, who am I arguing with, and who's me? Or when you hear that ego go, you got to go faster, you got to do this, you got to do that, you got to do that. Who's listening? So one of the things you learn to do very quickly is to learn that the ego is a function inside you. It is not you. It's something that isn't a bad thing, but it is something that shouldn't be driving the car. And so you start to learn those practices, and there's some really easy ways to do it. In the book that I help you understand that is not you, and what you're after is the real you, which I call the I in me, which is not the I in me. It's not a term I made up. It preceded Jung and Freud, who gave it a different name, the id or the ego. I'm sorry, the id or the self. But it's very descriptive of there's an I inside me that's different from some of the functions that talk to me. My conscience, my shadow, the guy who wakes you up in the middle of the night and makes you feel like you're horrible. Those are not you. And once you start to do that, then you really start to feel the real you. You're the one who's listening. That makes sense.
Yeah, that is kind of a profound insight to set aside the ego. What would be kind of a next step after you set aside the ego? How do you begin to then see your potential?
Well, and the setting aside of the ego is not a one-time thing. That's something you have to do. It's going to be with you the rest of your life, and you want it there. It's certain things. It has certain aspirational qualities that you want. That part of you that says, I can do this, that part of you seeks to explore. That's the aspirational part of the ego that's good and healthy. The part you don't want is the part we all know. And so it's not a one-time thing. You do that all throughout your life, and you get better and better at it to the point where it's really not much of a problem for you anymore. What you do then, once you are free of that, now you can begin to start to look inside yourself and find what lights me up. I mean, it's not really complicated. It's what lights me up, not what's going to make me a lot of money, not what's going to make me be the most successful kid in my class or the most successful person on my block, or give me social status. It's what actually brings me joy. And joy is a very special state. It's not it is a unique kind of feeling. We probably all felt it for a few moments, but you can live pretty much in a state of joy if you're living your own life. You're living the life you want to live.
Ben, I think these are great insights, and I appreciate you sharing to help us figure out how to find our potential, how to adapt to these changes. I really appreciate you sharing. Now, again, you said you've got a lot of resources at potentialistfuture.com. You said you're active on LinkedIn, Instagram as
Right.
well.
Right.
Give us some further guidance on how to be in touch, how to use the resources.
Okay.
Help us figure out how to maximize the opportunity here.
Good. Yeah. Go to the website or go to the social media, watch some of the video, and it will either resonate with you or it won't. I suspect from the way it's grown, it will. And you'll find a lot of the themes that are in the book, but it doesn't replace the book, because the book was, as you can imagine, this was my opus. This was, again, the hardest thing I've ever done. And it was carefully constructed to walk you through a process that isn't linear. And that's the thing about your own psychological growth. It's an organic process. And so you don't learn A to E, you learn things and they converge, and that gives you insight, and that's how you grow. So that's really what you'll find there. These will give you clues. They'll give you insights. I think you'll find each of them interesting, and something you don't hear every day in other places. But there'll be supplements to the book series, because it is a book series, and the one that you're holding up is the second in the series.
Yeah. I really thank you for taking the time to be with us today. My gosh, this has been such a helpful discussion. I want to wish you every success in launching the book and growing the audience of people that you can impact with this book to help people adapt to these crazy times.
That's right. They're wonderful times, but they're going to be fast and complex. So that's why we need to adapt.
All righty now. Let's do some good.